What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Monday, February 14th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 9-game slate here tonight. So let's take a look at the point guard position. I got a couple of point guards for you. First one is Kevin Porter Jr. from the Houston Rockets, playing the Utah Jazz, who have a good defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. Kevin Porter Jr. has averaged 30.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. Now, he's projected at 30.2 fantasy points here tonight, but he's playing about 35 minutes over the past couple of games. So that's an increase in his season average in minutes. So I think we can see about 35 plus fantasy points here, 5 times value or more. He's 6,700 DraftKings salary, 100 more on FanDuel. And I like this pick because Vegas thinks there's going to be 230 points scored in this game, so a high scoring game. And Kevin Porter Jr. has scored 49, 40, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 35, 35, and 33 minutes. So I like Kevin Porter Jr. here versus the Utah Jazz. Another point guard that I like is Coby White from the Chicago Bulls, playing the San Antonio Spurs, who have the 8th worst defense overall. They give up the 11th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Coby White has averaged 23.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 25.1 fantasy points here tonight, but he's playing a ton of minutes lately, so I think he can score 32 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 6,000 DraftKings salary, 400 more on FanDuel. Coby White has scored 38, 37, and 27 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 28, and 38 minutes. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 233 points scored in this game, so I like Coby White here versus the San Antonio Spurs. Now, just another couple of plays here. Ayo Dosunmu from the Chicago Bulls. He scored 37 and 42 fantasy points in the last 2 games, played 41 minutes in each of those games, so he's playing monster minutes. He's 5,900 DraftKings salary, 600 more on FanDuel. Looks like it'll be a coin toss for me between Coby White and Ayo Dosunmu. But outside of that, if you want to save a little bit of salary here at the point guard position, also eligible at the small forward position, take a look at Justice Winslow from the Portland Trail Blazers, playing the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a middle of the pack defense overall. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Now remember, CJ McCollum is now with the New Orleans Pelicans, so that's opening up some minutes for a guy like Justice Winslow, who scored 33, 34, and 31 fantasy points in the last 3 games, played 37, 33, and 32 minutes. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 232.5 points scored in this game, so I like Justice Winslow here versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Jordan Clarkson from the Utah Jazz playing the Houston Rockets, who have the worst defense overall. They give up the second most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Jordan Clarkson has averaged 25.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 24.9 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 28 fantasy points or more in this matchup, get you 5 times value or more. He's $5,300 DraftKings salary, $600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 230 points scored in this game, so it's a good game to stack. And Jordan Clarkson has scored 31, 20, and 23 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 23, 28, and 22 minutes. Now, I also like this pick because Jordan Clarkson scored 31, 31, 33, 31, and 20 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Rockets. So I like Jordan Clarkson here versus the Houston Rockets. And another pick here at the shooting guard position, Devin Vassell continues to roll. He's still only $5,200 DraftKings salary from the San Antonio Spurs playing the Chicago Bulls. In a high-scoring game, Vegas thinks there's going to be 233 points scored in this game, so another good game to stack. And Devin Vassell has scored 30, 34, and 31 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 28, and 28 minutes. So if he can score 30 fantasy points here, that would be way over 5 times value. So I also like Devin Vassell here versus the Chicago Bulls. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. Take a look at Aaron Gordon from the Denver Nuggets playing the Orlando Magic, who have the 4th worst defense overall. They give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Aaron Gordon has averaged 28 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 28.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's just about 5 times value. He's $5,800 DraftKings salary, $600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 225 points scored in this game. And Aaron Gordon has scored 24, 33, and 38 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 33, and 31 minutes. And he scored 32 and 40 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Magic. So I like Aaron Gordon here versus the Orlando Magic.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. This is a value play here. Super value play on DraftKings. Looks a little bit underpriced on DraftKings. I like Taj Gibson from the New York Knicks playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 3rd worst defense overall. They give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Taj Gibson has scored 20, 23, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 26, 20, and 26 minutes. Now, he's only projected at 15.1 fantasy points here tonight, but that's just about 5 times value. So if he scores 20 fantasy points or more, he's getting you way over 5 times value because he's only 3,100 DraftKings salary. Now he is 1,100 more on FanDuel, so I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 206.5 points scored in this game. I think this is a pretty good value play on DraftKings. It's a good matchup. He's playing plenty of minutes. He doesn't need much to hit value, so I like Taj Gibson as a value play on DraftKings here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now take a look at Darius Bazley. They finally raised this guy's salary up into the out of the 5K range on DraftKings, where he should be now, into the 6K range. He's 6,400 DraftKings salary. He scored 45 and 40 fantasy points the last 2 games, playing 35 and 33 minutes. He's not a screaming buy right now because the salary price increase. I think he's still an okay play, but I did like him a lot more at 5K. I just wanted to point out they finally brought this guy's salary up to 6K. So let's take a look at the center position. I like Domantas Sabonis from the Sacramento Kings playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have the 11th worst defense overall. They give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing centers, also eligible at the power forward position. Domantas Sabonis has averaged 44.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. Now, he's only projected at 41.9 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 50 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 9,700 DraftKings salary, 100 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 225.5 points scored in this game. And I like this pick because, well, Domantas Sabonis scored 41 and 49 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 33 and 32 minutes. But I like this pick because Domantas Sabonis has scored 63, 41, 60, and 41 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Brooklyn Nets. So he's got that 60 plus fantasy point upside in this matchup. So I like Domantas Sabonis here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Now, another good play here, if you want to save some salary, take a look at Christian Wood from the Houston Rockets in this high-scoring game versus the Utah Jazz. Vegas thinks there's going to be 230 points scored in this game, so this could be part of your stack. Christian Wood has scored 45, 36, and 39 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 32, and 35 minutes. He did score 42 fantasy points in his last game versus the Jazz, so I like Christian Wood here versus the Utah Jazz. Okay, now if you're looking to save some salary at the center position, this looks like a pretty good value play to me. Take a look at Ivica Zubac from the LA Clippers playing the Golden State Warriors, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing centers, but Ivica Zubac has averaged 23.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 24 minutes per game with a 15% usage rate. He's projected at 23.4 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.6 times value. He's only 4,200 DraftKings salary. Now he is 1,000 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 222.5 points scored in this game, and Ivica Zubac scored 38 fantasy points in 33 minutes last game, so he could be a fantastic value play on DraftKings. So I like Ivica Zubac on DraftKings here versus the Golden State Warriors.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.